Now, my first time meeting you, and we from the same area.
All right.
And I got to ask you, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? We got to talk about that.
No, that's horse beef here. And I was going to post no video today. I really was not going to. And then I realized that Rampage Jaxxon and Bear from the Jaxxon podcast had kind of made fools of themselves, having Bryce Mitchell on the podcast and then taking it down a few hours later. I was curious as to why. And by the way, I want to apologize for those shitty TikTok noises in that clip. That was the beginning of the Jaxxon podcast, and that was the only clip I could really find of it, because it is quite tough to find more than a couple of clips of this episode on the internet, because I wasn't able to catch it before it was taken down. And I may not even have known about it if it wasn't for this video showing up in my recommended of James Lynch explaining why he took down the video of his coverage. I didn't watch the video. Based on the comments, I went to the comments to see what they were thinking. Apparently, James Lynch's commentary was very much unbiased, yet Bear reached out to him and quote-unquote explained his side of the story. In my opinion, what really happened is he influenced James Lynch to take the video down. I understand that James Lynch did it on his own accord. He did it by his own decision. I'm sure, but I can only imagine that Bear had some choice words and sprinkled in a little bit of influence in there, because the video did quite well for James Lynch. I'm sure he was reluctant to take it down in the first place. But here we are, man. And I would like to give my own thoughts on the podcast appearance, at least the clips that are available still on YouTube, at least the ones that I was able to find.
So I did say he was a good guy, but I was saying before he committed all the atrocities.
Brother, you don't know him, right? You don't know the severity of what he did to the world. Obviously, I could tell you don't know for you to be able to even relaxedly say that word, that he was a good guy. And I'm not even going to give him the benefit of saying his name, but those extremist ideologies, the things he did to, millions of people, are some of the most disgusting, most evil things the world ever seen. Now, we're not going to give you a platform today to talk about anything that even remotely supports that.
No,
we're not going to give you a platform
I don't want
to justify what you said. And matter of fact, and me and Rampage talked about this, we're not even going to give you a platform to explain yourself on that. I personally just feel with the things that he did and the millions of people that died, there's no justification pre or post whatever you did say. Ain't nobody a good guy.
Just wow. I actually can't believe what I've just heard. Bear is not only an imbecile, but a fucking coward. To sit there and say, brother, you don't know him, with that cheeky little smile on his face. Do you know him, Bear? Were you alive during these times? Like, you know what you read in the same exact way that Bryce knows what he read about that situation. So you say, brother, you don't know him, and then you said nobody's a good guy, right? So you don't know him, but you are able to pass judgment. Bryce Mitchell can't. Like, regardless of how well informed your opinion is versus him, you don't know him either. It's just a stupid point to bring up in the first place. But then to say that they don't even want to give him a platform to defend himself or explain anything. So that begs the question of why you had him on the podcast in the first place. Clearly, it was to chastise him. Why did you want to chastise him? Was it your own decision, right? You invited him on the podcast in order to do this, or you got a call from somebody else who said, hey, man, we're going to need you to get Bryce Mitchell on the podcast and fucking eviscerate him for what he did, right? Throw him under the bus. Because he's acknowledged his mistakes, and when somebody says something out of pocket and they acknowledge their mistakes, really all you can do is say okay and hope that they change going forward. But to bring them on the podcast, say explicitly, we don't even want to give you a platform to explain yourself, leaves room for only one option. You brought him on the podcast to shit on him because you're a fucking coward, and you don't even want to give him the opportunity to respond, right? That is disgusting. And there's no wonder why you took down this episode, because it just makes you look like such a hypocrite. You wanted to bring this guy on to throw the heat on him, but you couldn't take the heat in the comments, so you deleted the episode like a little worm. And here we have an 18-minute response video, I guess you could call it, from Rampage Jaxxon. Obviously, I won't force you to sit through this whole thing, but let's just watch some portions of it.
For a little over a year now, and I'm
hear what he has to say.
I almost didn't want to do a podcast, but my brother Bear talked me into doing it, and
okay, I don't really give a fuck about the whole backstory of Rampage Jaxxon and Bear's podcast. Don't give a fuck. Let's skip forward.
So, Bear wanted me to be more serious for that, because it was really serious. Like, some of you fucking dickweeds, y'all don't understand how serious the shit that Bryce was saying. Like, I'm not saying that I was against what Bryce was saying, and I'm not saying, like, I was for what he was saying, you know. But all I was talking about it was, man, you got a motherfucking family, and like it's weak ass, sensitive ass motherfuckers in this world, and freedom of speech is like only freedom as long as you don't fucking hurt motherfuckers' feelings and they go crying and shit. And look at y'all now.
Whoa.
Saying shit.
What the fuck did I just hear?
Some of y'all mad
no, we gotta stop the
for
video
saying
here. So when he says sensitive motherfuckers, he's definitely referring to Bear, right? Because Bear was the one who got sensitive about the situation, decided to chastise and go at Bryce Mitchell while not giving him a chance to respond or any opportunity to respond. Pretty much just throwing him under the bus, dragging him through the coals, like I say. Pretty much, right? So the sensitive motherfuckers are, in this case, would actually be Bear. And I don't know if I want to throw Rampage Jaxxon in the mix there because, well, yeah, he said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" at the beginning of the episode, but it didn't seem to be in an attacking nature. You know what I mean? Like it didn't seem to be an attack towards Bryce. It did seem like a genuine question, like why are you saying this shit online, right? Rampage Jaxxon disagrees. Then again, you have Bear going at him, talking about you don't know him, history, this and that. Like you learn this shit at an 8th grade level. Past that point, you can't just be peddling the shit that you learned in 8th grade for the rest of your life and acting like you know everything there is to know about these situations. No, there's more research to be done. Whether you want to or not is up to you. But don't go around acting like you're some fucking scholar and that you know everything. You know everything there is to know about the situation, because you're not. So please, just fucking give that shit up.
But the point is, what some of y'all people don't understand is that, you know, we was just telling him, you got a platform now, you famous. Like, all you other cronies, y'all can say whatever the fuck y'all want to say on Twitter and on the internet. Y'all can say what the fuck y'all want to say because you ain't famous. Yeah, some people, you know, you get screenshot, maybe you might lose your job if you go viral and stuff like that. But
so it was all just in good faith, eh? We're just looking out for him.
Bryce retires
imparting wisdom. That's all.
UFC, get hurt and stuff, retire. Like, what the people he was talking about, you know what I'm saying?
Oh?
I'm being honest. They most of the time you're gonna
be
working for them or some shit.
Most of the time you're gonna be working for them. So Rampage Jaxxon is speaking from personal experience there. Let's talk more about that. Very interesting, and that may honestly explain why they made this podcast to begin with, why they had Bryce on, because apparently the podcast was already booked. So why not just cancel the podcast, right? Why not cancel the podcast if you don't agree with anything Bryce says and you don't want him to defend himself in any way, right? And if you really were coming at this in good faith, trying to look out for Bryce Mitchell, trying to let him know, hey man, when you've got a big platform, you can't be saying wild shit like that. But you don't want to give him a platform to defend himself. And you only want to shit on him. You cannot have it both ways. It's clearly not good faith if you don't even want to give the guy the opportunity to defend himself. And or explain his words. It really is crazy, this 18 minutes, because this is an 18-minute video that Rampage Jaxxon put out there. And believe me, it is 18 minutes of nothing but damage control. Nothing but that. And besides this, right, there has been some fallout in regards to what Bryce Mitchell said, the fighter and the kid, right? Fucking Brendan Schaub, as we know, major intellectual, huge in the academic scene. The guy is fucking massive. So as we know, like, he is obviously someone that we should be taking his words for at face value. Like, absolutely we should be with Brendan Schaub. Genius, right? Genius guy. And Brian Callen as well. Like, these guys are just such historians that they know everything. Bryce Mitchell's research is false. Their research is correct. Everything you were taught in school is correct. Question everything, man. I'm so sick of this condescension that comes from people who have very, very basic education, and because they believe everything that they're told, they think that anything that contradicts what they were told or what they grew up believing is false instantaneously. Unless, of course, you'd like to argue that there are more than two genders, and in that case, I would just outright disagree with you. Just to clarify that one right there, right? Rather than having conversations, right? We should be able to have conversations about this stuff. Right, we should be able to contradict history, quote unquote history, what we believe history to be, because, in my opinion, the verdict is very much up in the air, man, because we don't know what the fuck happened. We weren't alive during these time periods. We rely on people from the past accurately documenting history, accurately documenting events. We rely on that to get our sources of information, right? But Opinions can come from all different parts, right? History changes, information changes, new information arises, right? That can change our opinions. That we need to be free flowing individuals. We need to be open minded enough to where we can absorb contradictory information without just outright throwing accusations at people. That's immature and that's ridiculous. And I just can't really stand for that. And I don't stand for that, right? And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I felt that the way that Jaxxon or Rampage, I keep calling him Jaxxon because the name of the podcast is the fucking Jaxxon podcast. Rampage Jaxxon and Bear handled this like cowards. But I will say that my main grievance is with the way that Bear handled it more than Jaxxon. You could tell that Jackson's just along for the ride, and I would recommend, like, if you are a fan of Jaxxon, Rampage Jaxxon, like I am, watch through the whole 18-minute explanation if you would like to, and you could see that Rampage isn't exactly in the driver's seat, but the damage control is still clear. It's still clear that he's covering up for Bear and all that, and that can ruin his reputation in a way. It may lead to his reputation being ruined, but at the end of the day, man, like, the podcast is Bear's. Rampage, I don't know if he has a lot of creative control. As he says, he just sits down and speaks, really, and that's all there is to it. So yeah, the main issues with Bear, but Jaxxon, I think deserves a bit of criticism in here, which I think I've given to him to a proper degree. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, I recommend that you leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think about the whole situation as a whole, the video, whatever it is. Any of your thoughts at all, please let me know in the comment section below. And anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.